Salvation Station, Chapter 1. University Place Disciples of Christ Church. 2 of them were just babies. Captain Linda Turner had been a homicide detective over 10 years, but this crime scene was still a shock. Half a dozen murders are considered a bad year, she mused, striding toward the scene. 3 bodies had been discovered through an innocent act. An inquisitive dog burrowing deep into the flower garden behind his new home and bringing its master a gruesome prize. "Morning, Steve," she said as the cop guarding the area raised the yellow plastic police line, "Do not cross," crime tape as she slipped through. "I understand the dog of the owner found the bodies?" "Good morning, Captain. Yes, ma'am. He's new in town, the pastor of University Disciples of Christ Church," Steve offered. He made the 911 call. What a welcome. This was all the information Captain Turner had on this breezy May morning. The smell of freshly turned soil and blooming flowers mixed with a stench she knew all too well. Behind the neat limestone house, the garden had been cordoned off. Evidence flags and numbered photo markers dotted the soil with yellow. A crime scene photographer finished documenting the shocking scene, and the coroner directed forensics experts gingerly extracting human remains from beneath the black earth. The bodies were wrapped individually in blankets, fragile from decomposition. The badly deteriorated remains were gently uncovered, revealing 2 young children dressed in tattered Disney pajamas. One body clad in pink Disney princesses, and the other in Mickey Mouse, gave Linda pause. One little girl and boy, laid on blue plastic tarps spread over the grass, human jigsaw puzzles waiting to be solved. Linda couldn't look any longer and turned away, her free hand covering her mouth, breathing through her nose to keep from gagging. It had happened before, but the horror of innocent children being murdered always had the same effect. Linda couldn't stop until the depraved killer was found and convicted. She didn't have any children of her own due to investing 110% into her police career, but she was a favorite aunt. Linda envisioned the sweet faces of her nieces and nephews, all under the age of 10. The back door swung shut with a loud bang, snapping Linda into the here and now. A familiar figure strode towards her, tall and lean. Lieutenant Lyle Dale was a 20-year veteran of the force, dressed in a tailored dark suit and cowboy boots, always cowboy boots. He cut a striking figure. Linda met him halfway across the lush lawn. "Morning, Lieutenant. Bring me up to speed," she said, gesturing towards the vigilant CSI team. Lyle spoke matter-of-factly. 1 adult male, 2 small children. CSIs are still looking for a 4th body, but no luck so far. "I assume that would be the mother?" Linda asked, watching the hive of activity. "That's our best guess. The 2 children make this crime especially heinous." "Yes, they do," Linda acknowledged sadly. She strolled back toward the partially excavated garden, shading her eyes from the rising spring sun. "Walk me through the discovery." Lieutenant Dale cleared his throat. "If it weren't for the Reverend Martin's very big and curious dog, Chris Kringle, the bodies might have gone undetected. Per the Reverend, Chris is always dragging home roadkill or what have you. This morning, Chris took to digging in the flower garden and brought his master a human leg." Lyle turned toward the house. "Reverend Martin followed his dog out here," he added, tracing the pastor's path in one motion ending at the garden, where he discovered more human remains, at which point he called 911. A strand had come loose from the ponytail, securing her blonde hair, and Linda casually brushed it aside. "Any idea who they might be?" "That's where it gets intriguing," Lyle replied. "Reverend Martin moved into the parsonage about 8 weeks ago, replacing the former pastor named Gregory Hansen, who left to pursue missionary work in Africa. Reverend Hansen was married and had 2 young children. After the Hansen family moved, the National Missionary Office for the Disciples of Christ contacted the church, concerned the Hansens had never arrived." Linda glanced toward the corpses and the growing mounds of dirt from the excavated garden. 3 bodies, 1 adult male, and 2 small children. What are the chances that the Hansen family never left town? Lyle nodded, his face grim. "That's my thought, that these are the Reverend Hansen and his children, but we'll need autopsies to confirm that." The sour feeling in Linda's stomach made her think Lyle was right, but she had another question. "Did the church contact us or file a missing persons report?" "The church secretary confirmed a missing persons report was filed when the national office called to say the Hansens had never arrived in Cleveland," Lyle replied, following her gaze. Linda kept focusing on those tiny, pajama-clad bodies. "Start interviewing persons of interest." "I've already got to," Lyle interrupted. "Reverend Martin is very willing to cooperate and has agreed to let our people search the house and take prints. Then there's the church secretary, Darlene Jordan, who specifically asked to speak with the person in charge." Linda removed a small pad of paper and pen from her jacket pocket, scribbling notes. "I'll talk with the church secretary. Once we've secured the house, you and Amy start canvassing neighbors and church members." "Right. One more thing. Both Amy and I detected the odor of bleach throughout the house, as though someone was cleaning up after themselves." "Captain Turner, ma'am, there's a reporter from the Journal-Star asking to speak with you." It was Steve, the strapping young uniformed officer, keeping bystanders away from the scene. "I need to give the press a preliminary statement," Linda acknowledged. "We haven't seen a case involving the murder of children in quite a while, so it'll merit extra attention. I'll see you back at the station." Linda strode toward the quickly forming gaggle of reporters with Steve at her heels. Cases like this were one reason Linda Turner loved her job. Her dedication and tenaciousness had nearly assured her promotion as the youngest person to attain the rank of captain in the LPD. Sifting through the clues of a tangled mystery, discovering which pieces fit and which lead to a dead end, then assembling that evidence into a case to catch the perpetrator and bring them to justice were what had made law enforcement so enticing. But there was an unhappy downside to her meteoric rise. No longer was there someone to come home to and share a lifetime with. To preserve her sanity, Linda made the choice to delve deep into her career. Personal needs be damned. This case already pulled at her emotions. Those children's bodies haunted her. Who would savagely murder their own flesh and blood, then bury the evidence in a flower garden? Why? And most troubling, where was the mother? Linda made a silent vow to find out, no matter what.